This is one of my favourite designs because I love these colours, these gorgeous bright pinks, oranges and yellows against the quite clean crispness of the white cake behind. Really, really striking cake. You need a little bit of advanced preparation to make this cake. First of all, decide what flowers you wish to put on it, and I'm going to put these big, bright retro flowers on it with the little berries on the gold stems as well. And then you also need to make some of these. Now these have been made with flour paste or modelling paste. And what you want to do is you want to break off little pieces of it. Make sure there's no cracks on it, and then roll it into a sausage and go as fine as you can at the end. So keep on rolling. I'm not using any icing sugar. I'm just going to twist the end round to make a little curl and then just shake them like that. And I've got various ones that I've made here in advance. They can be all different sizes. Let's make another one. Make sure it's got a really nice little point at the end though, because that makes it look elegant, whereas if it had a great fat end to it, it wouldn't look very nice. I'll make about 7 or 8 of those, all different lengths and sizes. I've got a really, really big one that you can put right at the top of your cake, which comes highest. And then when they've all set, you have to leave them for 24 hours. You want to paint them into a gold colour. So that's my last one there. Lovely. So when you've got them set, you want to pick them up and put them onto a piece of kitchen roll and then paint them gold. I've got some creamy gold dusting powder, which is an edible art colour. I put a little bit into a different pot and I put on some dipping solution, and then using a brush, mix it together. If you want a paler gold, you can always add white satin to it and that will tone down so it's a much paler colour. And then you want to paint all over these now dried scrolls until you get the colour you want. Because you're using dipping solution, it will dry very, very quickly and it won't streak as you're painting it. So paint them all over until you've got that effect like that. Just leave them to dry and those will be ready to go in the cake later. To decorate this cake, I've used the piped swirl border mould from Karen Davis. Really, really easy to use, and it does a huge expanse of the side of your cake in one go. And this is how you use it. The first thing you need to do, whatever cake, whatever size you're using, you need to cover it with a thin layer of marzipan. Whether it's fruit or sponge, I would cover it with a thin layer all over. I will then place it onto my cake board, and I'm going to cover my board, before I put the border on, with some white icing. I'm also going to cover the top of my cake with a very thin layer of white icing, which I've allowed to drape down slightly over the sides, and I've smoothed it with my hands or with a smoother, so it doesn't actually butt out any further than the side. It's actually a lovely smooth side there, ready for my mould to go round there. So whatever size cake you make, that's what you need to do. Cover with a thin layer of marzipan and then just cover the top as well. And this is how you use the mould. You want to take your sugar paste, soften it slightly, make sure there are no cracks on it, and you want to roll out a piece which is about the same width as the section there inside the mould and very slightly shorter. I'm just going to use some icing sugar just to roll this out, and roll it to a kind of thickness of about 6 millimetres, 5 or 6 millimetres. When you've got your icing to approximately the right size and the thickness, you need to get some white satin shimmer, and I've used one from Edible Art here, and I'm going to brush all inside this mould generously with the shimmer. I'm just going to tap it to remove any excess like that. And then you place your sugar paste into there, press down firmly, either with the rolling pin or with your hands, and then using a small rolling pin, just press it down right into that pattern so you get a really well defined shapes from this swirl border. And when you've got it to that stage, you literally just peel it out, and there you have your border. Now, using either a knife or a little cutting wheel, cut all around the outside of the border shape. and all along the bottom as well. And when you've got it to that stage, it's ready to go on your cake. So you take your cake, and I brush a very thin layer of boiled apricot puree around the outside. Just enough to stick it in place. And then pick up the border and you pop it around your cake. That was a little bit high there, so I've just made that a little bit lower until you have that effect all the way around. So now I'm going to do another piece, and I'm going to show you how you can join it to the first one. I've cut the second piece for my swirl border, but before I've started to try and stick it in place, can you see the shape that I finished the first piece with? So it goes in very slightly there, goes into a curve and comes back in. Well, I've cut that shape on the end of this one before I stick it on. So if we start at the top there, and because this icing is soft, I'll just stick that around there, I can push that into the available gap. So it fits neatly and they knit together. And let's carry on round to this side and try and do the same around this side. So we've got a shape like that there, and we once again kind of fit this in, push together while it's still soft. And if you lose any of the definition of your rose swirl as you're pushing them together, if you just get a cocktail stick, you can mark those little lines in again using the cocktail stick. So hopefully when you look at the design from a distance, you can't actually tell where it begins and where it ends. It looks like a continual design, but do all this while it's still soft. And round to the other side, we finish off there by knitting it together like that, where we've lost the definition, just using a little cocktail stick. There we are. And you've got your design around your cake. Now for my finished design, I've chosen to do a 2-tier wedding cake, and I've actually got a 8x6" oval base and a little 4" round top. I've doweled underneath and I've stuck the round one on top, and we've got our pattern around the side. But we've also got this, and I'm now going to show you how to do this ruffle that goes all the way around this cake. You want to take some sugar paste and you want to roll it into a strip. It only wants to be about 3 or 4 millimeters thick, and we're going to cut little thin pieces about that, like that, about 2 centimeters wide. So that's our first one. I'm going to bring it close to me, and I'm going to use the PME number 9 tool, and this is a tool that I frill with, and that's basically what I'm going to do. I'm rolling and pressing all the way along one edge. We get right to the end. Do have some icing sugar underneath, because otherwise it will stick to your work surface, and that is the effect you want all the way along one end. You now want to pipe some royal icing all along the bottom edge of your border. Quite a generous quantity. Then you take a small piece of this frill and you start sticking it on, but as you stick it on, fold it as you go around. So I'm going back and forth on myself, so I'm making little folds in it as I go round. Then using the PME number 9 tool, give it a little press in at the base and then push the top edge out like that. And you want to carry on all the way around doing exactly that. So let's do the next bit. Start with a little fold, stick it there, bend it, stick, fold it, or bend it, stick, until you get another piece on, and then just press it in securely and lift the little top frilly bits up. And that's what you want to do all the way around your cake. So let's do another one. Little thin strip, frill the edge, and continue until you get all the way around to the back. So you fold it before you stick it on. Fold, 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 and finally the last one like that. Secure it around the base and flick the tops out. Now when you've got this frill all around the base of each tier, you want to then leave it until it's firm enough to actually paint. If it's possible to leave it overnight, that is the best thing to do, because otherwise if it's still a little bit soft, as you paint on it, it might move. But this one has been left overnight, and what I'm going to do is I'm just painting with creamy gold mixed with some dipping solution just along the top edge. It doesn't have to be neat and tidy. Doesn't matter if you miss the odd bit. And go right the way around your cake, top and bottom, on the little edge of your frill. Till you get this lovely effect. Your cake is ready to complete now with these big bright flowers. Because the flowers are actually done onto wires, you can't stick the wire directly into the cake. So if you put each of these little flowers into a tiny mini pick like that, you can then push the mini pick into the cake. So if we start off at the top by doing a lovely big orange one there, we'll push that in and we'll leave that sticking out. So you can really see it, and you can always bend the wire a little bit so you can see the flower to full advantage. And continue down the cake, putting them in. You can actually push them into the side of the cake. Use that one next, that's got a little pick on the back of it. Push it into the side of the cake and create a lovely cascade of flowers coming down. Don't forget also to use these. Use these beautiful black berries on gold wires that can also be put into the little pick, and they can be pressed into the cake. So add all your flowers in whatever arrangement you wish. Now I'm just going to put the last little spray of berries into the side of the cake in the mini pick and just fan them out to complete that design. Now the last little touch that I want to do on this, I want to add some of these gold curly loops that we made earlier. Now because these are just flower paste, you can push these directly into the icing and they'll be hard enough to stay there. Just put a long one there. There we are. And perhaps one more down this side just to create this effect. So let's just lift that flower petal back a bit, pop that in, and there you have your design.